So if by this time you are feeling super confident about this calculator, I want to share one last thing with you. It's an example where you have more than one farm. And you have a couple of farms that had prevented plant. For example, the last example that we went through, it was a farm that had 60 acres of prevented plant of corn with 40 acres of actually planted corn with a 50 bushel an acre yield. And there had also been some wheat planted with no prevented plant in 2019. And so when we run the calculator and entered all of that information there, we found out that that farm was better off by signing up for ARC IC, where this was just for the whole farm. It would not pay through corn, beans, or wheat. The payment is just for the whole farm, and it was quite a lot higher than if they would have signed up for PLC or ARC County. If you have two farms like this, and a third farm where you would not really qualify for ARC IC or you would not really get a good payment through ARC IC, it's important that you know that all of the farms that you sign up for in the ARC IC program get lumped together. And as you may have noticed, the ARC IC program pays a lot more than other programs. So it could happen that this farm that had better yields, the third farm, a third farm with better yields that may not trigger a payment if it signs up for ARC IC on its own. If by the time you put it together with other two farms that did have prevent plant, that did have low yields, then if all three are signed up through ARC IC, the payment triggers for ARC IC and it's a lot higher. That's the concept. I'll show you an example. So we have this one farm where ARC IC triggers and it pays 2,132 acres. And we did that through, like I said before, 60 acres of prevented plant corn with some really low yields for some of the prevented plant, actually planted acres. Let's imagine a situation in which a farmer has two farms exactly like this one, and a third farm where he does not have any prevented plant, and he has pretty good corn yields, 190 bushels an acre for the 100 acres that he planted of corn in 2019. He plans on doing 100 acres of soybeans in 2020, and he doesn't do any wheat in that farm. So if we looked at this farm on its own, and it has the same base acres and PLC yield as the other farms, I'm not changing any of that, and we're also considering that he has the same amount of irrigation. Just like that, this farm would trigger a payment on PLC for corn and wheat only, and would trigger a payment of $1,139 for the two crop years, 19 and 20. So in the situation where you have a farm, if you notice here, I have done the math. If he has two farms that pay $2,132 through the ARC IC program, and one farm that pays the $1,139 dollars through the PLC program, his total payment for the three farms for the 2 years is $5,403. It's not bad at all, but there's another thing you can do, and that is use this fourth sheet. And I'm going to show you what that does on this third file I have here. So in this file, you will notice that the base acres and the yield are higher than the other examples that we had used. We had been using 51.3 base acres, 154, the information that we had gotten from the FSA report. But what I've done here is I've gone to this last page. And what this last page lets you do is estimate what would happen if all of those farms got lumped together. So in this farm number 1, I have entered the 51.3 acres with a 154 bushel an acre for corn, whatever the soybean base and yield were, same thing for wheat, historical irrigated percentages, and the yields and acres planted for corn, beans, and wheat, including the prevented plant acres and yields that we had calculated. And I am making up 2 farms that are exactly the same. They both had the prevented plant. And on the 3rd farm table, this has space for up to 5 farms, I believe, but we're just going to use 3 today. This 3rd farm has got the same amount of base acres and PLC yields, same amount of percent of irrigated percentage, and it has higher corn yields, the 190, et cetera, et cetera. This is the one that would only trigger a payment through PLC if we left it alone. But by entering it on this table, we can find out what happens. In these bottom tables, we have combined base acres and yields for each of the commodities. And so what we need to do is copy these numbers, and I've actually already done that. I'm in the wrong sheet, hold on. I've actually already done that right here. Okay, I've copied these numbers onto here by doing paste values. And I do the same for the soybean base acres and PLC yields and irrigated percentage. Copy, paste. And the same thing for wheat. Copy, paste. You notice we have a lot more base acres now than we used to have. We used to have 72 base acres only, but now it's lumping all 3 farms together. And we also need to copy, which I've done already, these combined and weighted yields. So we would copy this and paste it here. I've done that already. And we do the same thing with these acres here at the bottom. It's 300 acres for 2019 and 20. Those are the ones that we really care about. The reason it's got 300 acres is that it's counting the 100 acres for farm 1, the 100 acres for farm 2, and the 100 acres for farm 3. So it's adding them all as if they were one farm. So we want those 300 there. And then we're going to copy our soybean weighted yields. I've done that already. We make sure those 300 acres go to soybeans in the following year. And we're going to copy and paste the weighted yields for wheat. And we're going to make sure that those acres reflect the reality, which it was not. Okay. Now, if we scroll down, once we copy all of that information, we are going to notice that ARC IC is now the best paying option, and it is more than if we just did the 3 farms separate. It's quite a lot more. It's like $2,200 more. So this is one thing that you really want to look into If you have a couple farms that have had really low yields but may not trigger a payment through ARC-IC, but they are kind of borderline, or you really could play around with these numbers and combine all of your farms or some of your farms, and it would really come down to trying and like playing around with the numbers and seeing what combination works best for you. Of course, this is an advanced use of this calculator, so I understand if you prefer to just go with the one farm at a time approach, but the difference in program payments may make it worth spending a little more time doing this. And of course, you can also give us a call if you have questions. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.